News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. The White House has announced a trade deal with Jordan. The Trump administration says Jordan will maintain duty-free market access for the U.S. and will remove non-tariff trade barriers. Meanwhile, the Trump administration has vowed to impose a fresh 50% tariff on some Canadian goods over what Trump says is unfair treatment of American alcohol, cars, and dairy. Bloomberg trade czar Brendan Murray.
It wasn't the tariff news we're expecting this week. The 10% global tariffs expire on Friday, and we're expecting a different kind of tariff to take its place. But this one definitely came out of the blue, and the president is using a Great Depression-era law to justify this 50% tariff on Canada.
Bloomberg's Brendan Murray. That law, the 1930 Tariff Act, gives the president the power to impose duties of as much as 50% on countries seen as discriminating against U.S. commerce. The U.S. and Iran exchanged strikes for a 10th consecutive day, even while mediators try to revive a truce. Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall.
We're getting these signs that mediators are actively working to prevent further escalation, though a White House official tells us that the U.S. strikes are expected to continue until President Trump chooses a different course of action.
Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall. The U.S. targeted Iranian military command centers. Iran attacked sites in Kuwait and Jordan. The Houthi militant group in Yemen continues to threaten shipping in the Red Sea, saying it would impose a maritime blockade on Saudi Arabia and putting at risk the flow of millions of barrels of oil. Now, President Trump in the Oval Office says if that happens, the U.S. would take care of it.
So far, it hasn't happened, might happen. But we take care of things. If something like that happens, we take care of it. You know, we've done that with the Houthis before.
Oil prices have surged. U.S. retail gasoline prices have climbed back to more than $4 per gallon. Crude more than 2% higher. WTI topping $85 a barrel. Brent crude nearing $91 a barrel. And stocks are climbing as a rebound in chip makers is gathering some steam. We do check markets for you all day long here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500, 0.8% higher. NASDAQ is 1.25% higher. The Dow, 0.75% higher. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.62%. The 2-year yield at 4.25%. And the Philadelphia Semiconductors Index is nearly 5% higher, led by Micron, which has jumped more than 10%. Moonshot AI is preparing to begin discussions in August on a final round of fundraising before listing in Hong Kong at a valuation of as much as $50 billion. The Chinese AI lab should close a financing round that began this summer at a valuation of $31.5 billion and then intends to open discussions with potential backers about a follow-on capital raising. Moonshot achieved $300 million of annual recurring revenue in June. Airbus has signed off on a £5 billion share-back program over 3 years. Shares of Airbus now 1.5% higher. Novo Nordisk is suing Eli Lilly, accusing the company of misleading advertising in the U.S. market for obesity drugs. Novo says Lilly's ads rely on outdated weight loss comparisons with lower doses of Novo's obesity shot, Wegovy. Bloomberg Health reporter Madison Muller.
Novo was first to this market with Wegovy and with Ozempic, and they really created this modern weight loss market. However, Lilly was able to pretty quickly overtake them over the last couple of years with Zepbound and Mounjaro, which are a little bit more effective for weight loss. And so Novo is sort of coming out swinging now and trying anything that they can to reel back in customers and investor confidence.
Bloomberg Health reporter Madison Muller on Bloomberg's open interest. Shares of Eli Lilly more than 1% higher, and Novo Nordisk shares are more than 1% lower. General Motors raised its full-year profit forecast by another $500 million after beating second quarter earnings estimates powered by stronger margins on its largest vehicles and lower tariff costs. The company now expects its earnings before income and taxes of as much as $16 billion this year. CFO Paul Jacobson says higher gasoline prices have not impacted sales.
We've held in on price and demand as well, and that's remained consistent. So as we look at the overall energy price environment, it hasn't really impacted us. We're still selling full-size SUVs as quickly as we can make them, but we have a much broader product portfolio.
Hear more of our interview with GM CFO Paul Jacobson on the Bloomberg Talks podcast. Shares of GM now nearly 5% higher. A federal appeals court has rejected a request asked by Joe Biden to block the release of audio recordings and transcripts of his interviews with a Memoir ghostwriter before he was elected president. A divided three-judge panel suspended its decision until August 3rd to allow more time for Biden to consider another appeal. The panel found there is substantial public interest in disclosing the material that Biden wants to keep hidden. Voters are going to the polls for Arizona's Republican primary. President Trump wants Republican lawmakers to back his plan to scrutinize the November midterms. Trump continues to make unfounded complaints about his 2020 loss to Joe Biden. Today's Arizona primaries are the first test of whether his message is energizing Republican voters. Arizona represents a critical state for President Trump. It has been a Republican stronghold for a long time, but it is changing in the suburbs and commuter towns around Phoenix. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris, and this is Bloomberg.